Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I formally declare open this submissions meeting of the Colac Otway Shire on the 16th of September 2025. I'll start with the opening prayer. Almighty God, we seek your blessing and guidance in our deliberations on behalf of the people of the Colac Otway Shire. Enable this council's decisions to be those that contribute to the true welfare and betterment of our community. Amen. I'd like to start this afternoon by acknowledging the traditional custodians and lawmakers of this land, their elders past, present and emerging. Please be advised that this council meeting is recorded and live streamed, with the exception of confidential matters. This includes the public participation sections of meetings. The live stream recording of this afternoon's meeting will be available on the website as soon as practicable. By participating in open meetings, individuals consent to the use and disclosure of the information they share at the meeting, including any personal and or sensitive information. I note that Councillor McCrickard is an apology tonight and all other councillors are present. We'll move on to the confirmation of minutes. I propose that we move to confirm the minutes of the Submissions Committee meeting held on the 12th of August 2025. Do I have a mover? Councillor Hudgell. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Howard. We now have a motion before us. Councillors will put to a vote. All those in favour: Councillor Potter, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Dew, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Howard, Councillor Schramm. Is carried 6-0. Thanks, councillors. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? There are none. We'll now move on to the verbal submissions from submitters. Council appreciates the community's submissions on today's agenda item and values the effort put in to both the written and in-person contributions. Councillors review all submissions thoroughly and find them very useful. Today, people can restate or highlight parts of their submission. I will now read the names of registered speakers that wish to speak today. We've got Jane Gross, Rosemary Richardson, Jeff Cook, Mary Dracup, Barbara Barclay, Peter Gregg, Rosalind Matheson, Tim Farquharson, Elizabeth Ryan and David McKenzie. We'll now... please note that this committee will hear the submissions today, but no decisions will be made at this meeting. A decision on these matters will be made at a later meeting. We'll move on to the officer reports, 5.1. Submissions to the draft council plan. We have 4 people who have requested to speak to their submissions. Firstly, I'll invite Jane Gross, who has attended online today, to address the meeting. Can you hear us, Jane?
I can.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. You've got 5 minutes. I'll give you and everyone else today at the 4-minute mark. I'll just interrupt and say 1 minute remaining, just to give you an idea of the time remaining. So over to you, Jane. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to say, is it possible for me to speak to the council plan and also very briefly to the draft domestic animal management plan as well?
No, they're 2 separate agenda items, so I'll just get you to do the council plan first. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm here today to represent Apollo Bay Community Voice as the president. As you would know, the Voice was established just over 2 years ago to represent and advocate for the communities of Apollo Bay. And the submission that we submitted in writing, I'd just like to highlight a few of the points. So the first one was regarding the Community Vision 2050, which we strongly support, and are pleased to see the adoption of that vision, which was developed, I think, some years ago and confirmed with some engagement this year. We were surprised that that wasn't the purpose of the council plan, but instead there was a council vision, which we were a little bit confused about and wondered why the community vision wasn't there rather than the council vision. But we felt that if the council vision was something that had to be there to replace it, we wondered if we could suggest a couple of wording changes to that vision. And I'll just read the new wording that we've suggested, which I assume you've probably got in front of you, which is Colac Otway is a thriving regional municipality where cultural heritage is recognised, residents prosper, sustainable businesses find opportunity and visitors stay longer. So just highlighting three things there that we would like, if possible, to be considered to be included. So instead of hub was municipality, just to reflect the diversity of the townships across the Shire, and putting in the cultural heritage in creating opportunities for First Nations and European storytelling, tourism and community connection, and sustainable, just to emphasise the importance of environmental protection and the resilience of local economies. So that was the first thing. The second thing was in regard to place, which is the first objective. And we wondered if it was possible to include under your strategy 1.3, where it said make it safe and easy to get around the Shire. We wondered if it could be added to that, including for pedestrians, cyclists and disabled persons. And that would be in line with the, I think it was called the active transport strategy that was from the previous council probably. And we thought that that would be great if that was possible to be included in that strategy. In strategy 1.4, we wondered also whether early childhood education and care could be included as well as affordable housing, both of which are widely recognised, including by the Productivity Commission, and both essential for attracting and retaining key workers and driving economic growth. So if the strategy could then read, ensure our region offers and attracts a diversity of economic opportunities supported by an array of affordable housing and early childhood education and care options. So again, in both cases, if that was adopted, perhaps a success indicator could go along with it, was our suggestion. Under people, which was objective 2, we welcomed the inclusion of a success indicator to measure growth in the number of young people aged 18 to 35, and wondered whether hand in hand with that could go a corresponding strategy to accompany that indicator, which might read strategy 2.6 perhaps, which could read retain and grow the next generation of persons 18 to 35 age group living in the Shire.
You got 1 minute. Thanks, Jane.
Yeah. 1 minute. So prosperity, objective 4 and 5. We just wanted to suggest the addition of perhaps strategy 5.5 to pursue sustainable tourism, to include investment in local communities and protection of the environment. And if that wasn't acceptable, then perhaps just the word sustainable in 5.3, increase sustainable tourism options and investments in Colac Otway Shire through events, products and attractions. That's the gist of it. So just basically we really welcome the opportunity and we think it's great, but we'd just like to see a few possible additions if they could be considered. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Jane. I'll now invite Rosemary Richardson to address the meeting. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of U3A Colac Otway to put forward our reasons for the age-friendly declaration to be included in the Council Plan 25-2029. This submission has the support of U3A Apollo Bay, and together we represent a combined membership of 477, which is a significant portion of the Shire's 65 and over residents. We've noted that in the current draft plan of the 2025-2029 plan, there's limited reference to the contributions and needs of older residents, and we believe this gap needs addressing. The age-friendly declaration was in 2016 the then Minister for Housing, Disability and Ageing and the President of the MAV signed the age-friendly declaration. It provides a commitment for both levels of government to work together to create age-friendly communities, and councils are encouraged to demonstrate their support for the declaration and their commitment to creating livable communities for older Victorians by endorsing the declaration. Who's signed the declaration? Currently, 48 of the 79 local councils are signatories, including Corangamite, Surf Coast, Warrnambool and most recently Moyne Council. And at the moment, the Colac Otway Shire is not a signatory and also doesn't have a positive ageing policy. The benefits of signing the age-friendly declaration are well documented. Older people who are socially engaged, stimulated and active have less needs for costly aged care and acute health services. These benefits should be compelling because 24% of the Colac Shire residents are in the 65 plus age bracket that was in the census 2021. Also, a survey of OPAS consumers in 2019 found that 41% responded they were lonely. That was in a survey done in 2019. The age-friendly declaration provides benefits for all ages by creating environments and services that are more livable and accessible for the entire community, not just older adults. Age-friendly buildings, footpaths, outdoor spaces, safe pedestrian crossings, better public transport, accessible housing and increased social participation positively impacts people of all ages, including those with disabilities, children and the general public. The age-friendly policy we decided or we feel aligns with the council objectives. In the current draft plan, we believe the age-friendly declaration aligns with several of the objectives. In place, objectives 1.2 and 1.3. In people, objectives 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 and 2.4. And in prosperity, 4.4. Additionally, in the Colac Otway Shire, the 50 Plus Plan 2015 to 2025, signing the age-friendly declaration was given priority 1 in the action plan in Appendix A. This action was never fulfilled and we respectfully ask why not. Our request, on behalf of U3A Colac Otway and U3A Apollo Bay, we request that signing the age-friendly declaration be given priority consideration for inclusion in the Council's 2025-2029 Municipal Health and Wellbeing Plan. The Council renew its commitment to creating a community that's inclusive, supportive and accessible for people of all ages. Thank you once again for your time and consideration. Rosemary Richardson on behalf of the U3As in the Colac Otway Shire. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosemary. I now invite Jeff Cook to address the committee. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to Council. I'm Secretary of the Climate Action Team and I'm speaking to the submission made by Marina Lewis, our Chairperson, and my own submission that I submitted. The draft Council plan makes no mention of climate change and the need for commensurate locally focused action. Urban cooling is the only direct climate-related outcome mentioned. There is no reference to climate adaptation, resilience planning or climate risk management, no dedicated climate action goal, strategy or measurable target, e.g. emissions reductions, renewable energy or energy efficiency. There is no link between climate change and health, which is a priority of the state. In fact, the Climate Change Act 2017 requires councils to have regard to climate change when preparing a municipal health and wellbeing plan. Climate change will impact all the objectives and strategies of the draft council plan. It would be difficult to justify its exclusion to the plan to the people of the Shire to whom council owes a duty of care to take it seriously and pursue strategies for place, people and prosperity within the context of a changing climate. It's relevant to note that other nearby councils are focused on this responsibility in their council plans, such as the Golden Plains Shire Council Plan, with multiple objectives and initiatives, 24 in number, for targeted climate action. Under their plan, Strategic Objective 1, for example, states, "We will take action on climate change and strengthen resilience, enhance climate resilience through improved risk management, emissions reduction, knowledge sharing and climate adaptation." Accordingly, their major initiative is to advance and progress their climate emergency plan. This is a great concern of ours that the Colac Otway Shire has its climate change action plan, which council staff and community organisations are actively working on, and we meet every 6 months to track its progress. There is no mention of such a plan in this draft council plan. This leaves open the possibility of down the track council saying that there is no mention of the climate change action plan in the main council plan, therefore it can't be that important and we'll scrap it. The draft council plan notes the Community Vision 2050, and under which council claim to work towards net zero carbon emissions, set clean energy targets and plan for climate change, improve mental and physical health outcomes through environmental initiatives such as urban greening and cooling strategies, and focus investment on maintenance and provision of climate change resilient infrastructure in vulnerable locations. None of this is mentioned in the draft council plan. Just this week, the National Climate Risk Assessment, NCRA, released its report, which is a wake-up call to all of Australia, including Colac Otway Shire. The report states that at the current rate of climate action, we're heading towards 3 degrees of warming, and the impacts will be extreme. Among the multiple impacts we can expect to experience locally are increasing severe and extreme heat waves, bushfires, crop failures and coastal flooding. Insurance for many properties will be unattainable within 25 years. Property values are expected to plummet. Colac Otway Shire, with its extensive coastline and being one of the most bushfire-prone landscapes in the world, is already being hit by climate change. Right now, we have an intensification in severe erosion along our coastline.
Just 1 minute.
And the increase in extreme weather is making our communities more vulnerable to bushfire, with last summer seeing a number of bushfires flare up in the Otways. So in summary, we would like to see that under the main heading of objectives and strategies, the Council acknowledges that the changing climate is the overarching context within which it will diligently develop and enact the following objectives and strategies. We would also like to see that the acknowledgement of country be reinstated at the start of the plan rather than being at the end. I thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. I now invite Mary Draker to address the committee. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. I won't repeat all of my written feedback in the forthcoming council strategic plan, but I would like to speak to you on a few key points. It's timely that the National Climate Risk Assessment was released yesterday. This assessment, which I'm sure you will have read about in this morning's news, draws together hundreds of pieces of peer-reviewed research and points to certain catastrophic outcomes for Australia due to climate change in the coming decades. Regional Australia will be particularly affected. Therefore, I support the Climate Action Team's own feedback and recommendations, especially that Council acknowledges at the top of its strategic plan that scientifically proven climate change is the overarching context within which the plan's objectives and strategies will inevitably play out. I believe a responsible council plan must include significant measures to make the Shire more resilient and adaptive to these rising temperatures that we face. We are already seeing devastating effects of climate change within the Shire. Leaving aside this year's serious drought and beach erosion, the Otway Ranges are particularly at risk of increasingly intense and frequent bushfires, In the past year, several serious bushfires have forced people in our shire to leave their communities because they are at imminent risk. The Country Fire Authority actively promote the message on extreme and catastrophic fire risk days that leaving bushfire risk areas early in the day is your safest option. But in our shire, this is actually not a practical option for many people who do not have cool, comfortable places in a less risky place where they can go for long periods, especially if they have disabilities or challenging health conditions, pets or children, or are elderly. I've observed in my own town of Forest, despite concerted local and state education campaigns in recent years, on extreme days, dozens of people can still be found at home, anxiously just hoping for the best. I'm fairly confident that the same happens in small communities across our shire. Colac Otway Shire can and should include in its strategic plan that it will take action to help people better manage their increasing personal risk due to climate change. Specifically, my recommendation is that under the people heading in the plan, you include an objective to support people and tourists to leave high fire risk zones early on extreme and catastrophic days and stay away until the risk of fire has passed. This will entail the simple, low-cost step of ensuring that these people will be welcomed and accommodated on those days in a variety of safe places over which the council has some control, such as Blue Water, Colac, the library, Central Reserve and the showgrounds. A variety of venues is needed for people with various needs. For example, those with large dogs or ponies would need a place with space and animal shelter like the showgrounds, while active children could be better accommodated for long hours if they had choices such as Blue Water and or Central Reserve. A consistent and realistic communication campaign will also be necessary to normalise this behaviour. As I said, my written submission contains further feedback on the plan, but these are the most urgent points I wish to reiterate to you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary. That's all of our submitters for the draft council action plan. There's a recommendation in the report today, councillors. Does anyone wish to move that as a motion? Councillor Hudgell. Does anyone wish to second it? Councillor Howard. Councillor Hudgell is the mover. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd just like to say a big thank you to everyone that has lodged and written a submission. I know that they've been really carefully read by all councillors and we really appreciate everybody's valuable input to those. I'd also just like to acknowledge as well Jane, Rosie, Jeff and Mary who have come in today to take time out of their day to come and speak. We really do appreciate you being here, so thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Howard is the seconder.
Yeah, I support the comments by Councillor Hudgell and thank everyone for making the opportunity to come on this very important topic. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor. Any other councillor wish to speak? No? Right reply. Thanks, councillors. We have a motion before us. I'll now call for a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Potter, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Dew, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Howard, Councillor Schramm. Motion is carried 6-0. Thank you, councillors. We now move on to item 5.2, submissions to domestic animal management plan. We have 4 people who have requested to speak today. Firstly, I'll invite Jane Gross, who has attended online. Over to you, Jane. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief. The concern that Apollo Bay Community Voice had was regarding dogs on beaches in the Shire. And given that it's Gorkappa land, this draft plan outlines a collaborative approach with Gorkappa about local law enforcement, but we're concerned about the compliance activities on coastal land, which is managed by Gorkappa, and that remains with Gorkappa. So it raises a problem in that Gorkappa lacks trained compliance officers apparently to achieve the enforcement of the local laws. And council's only committing to responding to dog attacks and to assist with communication to community and visitors. So we're questioning who will be enforcing laws about the dogs on beaches. and we'd like that to be addressed. And also linking this, I suppose, to what we've just discussed in terms of promotion of tourism in the Coastal Council plan, which really is hand in hand with an increase in the number of dogs on beaches. So that's our concern, and thank you for the opportunity. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. I now invite Barbara Barclay. You here? No? Oh, sorry. If you just make your way up, thanks.
I'm pretty nervous. I'm just here about the cat, for locking them up for 24 hours a day. We've got 2 cats. They're outside cats because my husband's got asthma. They have got a garage to sleep in of a night. And yeah, I don't know what we do if you lock them up for 24 hours a day, you know. And the cats are brother and sister. We had them given to us when they were kittens. We've had them spayed. The girl cat, she just sleeps around the yard all day. The boy cat, he does wander a little bit, but he often brings home mice and rats and leaves them in the yard for us to see. And I'm thinking, what's going to happen if there's no cats around to get these mice and rats? Are we going to have a plague of mice and rats eventually? Yeah, but I don't want to give our cats away, yeah, or have them put down. Yep, that's all I've got to say.
Thanks, Barbara. Thank you. I now invite Peter Gregg. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. Just 3 points to make. One, the draft plan doesn't give a good reason for making such a radical change of policy, and I'd like that to be point one. Secondly, I want to say that off-leash dog areas are important for dogs and their owners. And the third point is that an off-leash zone on either side of Barongarook Creek would be a satisfactory outcome from my point of view. And I stress I'm speaking only on behalf of myself. There are plenty of other dog owners, but I haven't had any form of representation arrangements made here. On the question of the policy, it's a dramatic change to go from having largely off-leash arrangements for the whole of the town, with some exceptions where you have to have arrangements to be on lead, to go from that in the previous plan to the new plan, which is the opposite. That is, dogs on leashes everywhere, maybe not in a dog park. And I'd say that there needs to be a good reason for a dramatic change of that sort. And in the draft plan, I couldn't see that reason put down. That may be my fault, but I would say that if you need to put this plan forward in that form, the justification needs to be put more clearly. If it turns out that there has been some evidence for attacks, for example, or human safety has been under threat, then I think those points need to be put forward. But even then, I come to the second point. We need to have some parts where dogs can be off-leash. The reasons are that dogs need more exercise than most of their owners, and especially when you get old. And to have them constrained all the time on a leash is not healthy for either party. And as an aside, I can point out that those of us who like picking up the rubbish on the way, it's a lot easier with 2 hands to do that when you haven't got one hand tied up with a dog. Turning on to where, if we have any off-leash zones allowed, dog parks are one option. But in my view, they're not the best option. And the idea of having an off-leash zone up and down either side of the creek, from say the railway line down to the lake, presents a pretty good alternative to a constrained dog park. The reasons are that you've got a pleasant and decent walk for both owners and dogs, and provided we remember, as in the previous policy, that dogs off-leash need to be under effective control. And I know that's in the plan. There's some argument about whether that's fully understood or defined carefully enough. But I think we all understand that if a dog attacks another dog, it is not under control, and therefore it should be a finable offence. And I would say that should be an allowance for any off-leash area to maintain effective control over your dog. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you. Rosalind Matheson, invite you up. Thank you.
I don't really look like a vibrant dog walker, do I? But, I testify I am. Thank you. My name is Ros Matheson and I've been a dog walker here in Colac for 24 and a half years. As a dog walker of 4 decades who took a dog to the office every day in busy Richmond and Paran, I find the need to change the current laws both puzzling and surprising. But as Peter said, if you deem change is needed, I ask that you embrace the diversity of your community and follow the lead of the densely populated councils within the City of Melbourne who have an extensive blend of dog off-lead areas, some fenced, but mostly not. For example, there are the large areas of parkland in the stunningly beautiful Royal Park with its huge off-lead areas, Port Melbourne Beach, Albert Park Lake, Altona Dog Beach, All Nations Park in Northcote and Darebin Park in Elphington, which has an extensive off-leash area. And this is just the inner city, and the list grows as we move further out. Sadly, we cannot legislate people to become better dog owners, as we cannot legislate that people become more responsible and safer drivers. A blanket ban merely punishes those who do the right thing. I learned very early that you do not let your dog off lead unless you know it will come back. And you will not know if it will come back until you let it off lead. Walking a dog on a lead is not a guarantee of a well-socialised, obedient dog, and can often mean the opposite. As this is the dilemma that both owners and councils face, putting a dog on a lead is a simplistic solution. Like many others, as I have aged, I still love to walk my dog, but my circumstances dictate that I now move at a gentler pace. Like many others, I now require a sealed surface underfoot as if I'm walking on grass, precarious at best. I envy those who can walk at a cracking pace with their dog on lead, but that is not possible for me. Having a dog on lead, however well trained, risks a trip and potential fall that can be life-altering. For me to walk safely, my dog needs to be up front and out from under my feet and off lead. And so I request that a small space be granted, both north and south of the Barongarook Creek, from Coles through to the restricted areas at the lake, and this be designated an off-lead area. I know this is an enlargement of my original submission, but I'm being ambitious, as I ask you to be. As the Melbourne off-lead spaces have proven, they do not need to be fenced, so if you allow this area, there is no cost to council other than signage. Here there are footpaths, shade in summer, seating and most importantly bins. The only thing missing is another dispenser for dog do bags, an unfulfilled request I made post-COVID when I walked with a council rep to reinstate new and old bins along the creek. Here the vibrant bird life of the lake is respected and the human activities that gravitate to the lake are also unaffected. Walkers and their dogs can come and walk for as long or as short a section as they want while enjoying the companionship of their canine and human friends. Many years ago, I was given a 3-year-old kelpie from a local dairy farm, surplus to needs and about to be shot. He was wary of dogs and anxious around men. I was astounded at the change in him after we joined a small group of dog walkers at the creek at 5:30 every night, and dogs were all fleed, yes.
1 minute, thanks.
We can lead by example and encourage people to be better. We who have taken the time to train our dogs and take responsibility for making our dog walking community a welcoming and enriching environment for both dogs and others, whether on or off leads. Our dogs pose no harm to people or other dogs, quite the reverse. So I ask you to not take away something from us that is so important and vital to our everyday existence, and that of our dogs. Jimmy, my beloved Kelpie, and I still have plenty of walking left in us, even though it's very slow. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosalind.
I can pick up dog do.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, councillors. That's all of our submitters to the Domestic Animal Management Plan. There's an officer recommendation in the report. Does any councillor wish to move that as the motion? Councillor Hudgell, thank you. Is it to be seconded? Councillor Dadu, thank you. Councillor Hudgell is the mover.
Thanks, Mayor. Once again, I'd just like to thank everybody who has made a written submission. Once again, they've been really carefully read by all councillors, and we really appreciate the time that it gets put into these submissions. And also acknowledge everyone that came in here today to also speak to us. It is such a big thing to be able to stand up and speak, so I appreciate you having your courage to do that. And animals play such a huge role in our lives. They're not just pets, they're a part of our family, and so I know it's a really sensitive topic too. So thank you very much for sharing your stories and your valued opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dadu, as the seconder. Thanks.
Just to echo Councillor Hudgell, thank you for taking the time, everyone, for coming in and letting us know how you feel about the animal management plan and others. So I appreciate all your time, and yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing it further. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor wish to speak? No, thank you. No. Thanks, councillors. We have a motion before us. We'll now put to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Potter, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Dadu, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Howard, Councillor Schramm. Motion is carried 6-0. Thank you. We now move on to item 5.3, submissions to the draft Birregurra Structure Plan. We have two people requested to speak to their submissions. I'll now invite Tim Farquharson up. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr Mayor and councillors and staff. Thank you for allowing me to speak on the draft Birregurra Structure Plan 2025. My name's Tim Farquharson. I am the fifth generation of Birregurra. Our family's been there for more than 125 years. Great-grandfather, in fact great-great-grandfather served as a councillor, and he was the local butcher out there. My great-grandmother taught at the local school, and my grandparents have lived there all their life, and my father coached the football club, and I was the president of the golf club. So we've got a pretty long tie to Birregurra, and from that point of view, I'm just speaking as someone who's got a long invested history in the township, someone who cares deeply about Birregurra. So we're not talking, our family's not talking as like an outsider or a speculator regarding the draft structure plan. Now what I want to talk to you about is parcel 2, or sorry, I think it's area 2 in the draft structure plan. It's a parcel of land that our family owns. It's on the western edge of Birregurra, and we would like to see that be put forward as the next greenfield site for town expansion in the next 10 to 15 years. Not immediately. Not immediately. We believe it is the ideal site for carefully managed development, and I want to explain why that is. First, its location, obviously being on the western edge of town. It's tucked away, that's not visible from the three main entry points into Birregurra, so it protects the town's village-like feel. At the same time, it's only a short, easy walk to the schools. It's very flat to the main street, easy sort of 5-minute walk, if that, to the main street in the heart of town. So it's in a really good location. So that balance of a discrete location but excellent walkability, in our opinion, it makes it a sensible choice for development. And now the parcel of land is about 16 hectares in size. 3 sides are already bordered by roads, and then one side is bordered by an unnamed creek, which, if it ever happens, I would like to see a walking track along the creek that goes to a secondary park for the town, but that's well down the track, but that's just my vision. In addition, it's currently run as farmland. However, that's becoming more and more problematic as it does border the town. We've had a few complaints over the years about animal noise, animals getting out, machinery noise. In particular, once I had a crop in and the scare gun went off overnight, which didn't go down well. So second is the regarding the structure plan, is that it's sort of blatantly obvious that Birregurra eventually will run out of vacant plots within the current town boundary. So, in the future, I would like to see Birregurra continue to expand in a modest and steady way. Not transform Birregurra, but keep its village-like feel, which it currently is, but just some growth where school enrolments and junior sporting teams and those sort of things can prosper. Without continued development, those sort of things decline. The main street, with the businesses, etc., they need people walking through the doors. So I think with some modest growth in Birregurra, to see it remain strong, see the community services continue to prosper, like the kinder, school health centre, and of course the recreation reserve, is important. So Victoria's currently experiencing a housing crisis, as everyone knows. Housing affordability has dropped to its lowest level in 30 years, and obviously people that are renting rates are just ridiculous, and solutions more housing supply. So we just would like to see our piece of land, Area 2 as it's known, as the next greenfield site for Birregurra. We don't want to see Birregurra lose its character, but we think with the right overlays and design rules we can extend the town boundary into our area known as Area 2 and see Birregurra prosper into the future. Thank you for your time.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. I now invite Elizabeth Ryan. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I haven't been quite in Birregurra as long as Tim, so we actually decided years ago that to be a local out there you had to go to kinder, and I didn't go to kinder in Birri, but I have been there over 35 years, so it's pretty good. I just wanted to speak my concerns, as always, about road safety. So my concerns with the pedestrian crossing locations that are suggested, that they should actually just follow down Road Knight Street across Main Street rather than encompass the bus stops, and the same at the Hall end rather than down to the park, because that's not where everybody's trying to get to. On that point, my main concern is that Birregurra encompasses so many communities. It's Warncourt, it's Forest, it's Worrell, it's Ricketts Marsh, it's Deans Marsh, Bowen Downs, and even I've had people at the train come up from Apollo Bay just to catch the train because it's a local service they can get to. And with that, we also need to encourage our public transport to actually divert up to the station. Our bus services that go through the township when we have the summer bus service, which unfortunately is only for 6 weeks between Colac, Birregurra, Deans Marsh and Lorne, doesn't go to the train station, which is a bit defeatist. And likewise, the service that does the Barwon Downs to Forest to Apollo Bay run on Wednesdays and then does a short summer service as well doesn't go to the train station, which I think would be fantastic if we could promote that. I'm also frustrated with you guys because the Colac Shire likes to plant trees under power lines, which is just a no-no. And we've had that issue last year with Powercor, which don't normally come out formally and request or say that there's a problem when that happened in Beale Street, but that did occur. And it took months for the Shire to actually rectify that problem. Another area of interest that I have is the number of roads that actually use the word Birregurra. We have the Birregurra Road, the Birregurra Forest Road, the Birregurra Yodine Road, or sometimes the Yodine Birregurra Road, the Birregurra Deans Marsh Road, the Warncourt Birregurra Road, and if you're really lucky, you can go to Tarneet and go along Birregurra Drive. So in an emergency, it's really hard for people to realise where they are, and there's lack of signage. So Main Street Birregurra, there's no sign actually says Main Street Birregurra. Regularly and again today, the sign saying Ennis Street is facing into Main Street and the Birregurra Warncourt Road label is heading up Ennis Street. So it's just a little bit silly. My other big concerns is, was the CFA consulted with this plan at all? I'm not sure, I couldn't find that in any of the thing. We have major fires do happen and they're from lightning, power lines, wind, machinery, caravan tyres, kitchen house fires. Yesterday, an uncontrolled burn-off, burnt house down at Barwon Downs, which was part of my family history. The wind, discarded smokers, which caused the one at Warncourt just recently. It's still burnt out there near the off the Bureau at the highway. And also we always have issues with hay, lighting, with lightning or self-combustion, and that can occur in a paddock, in a hay shed, or on a truck. We'd also like to see, I'd like to see the extension of the footpath from the primary school up Beale Street around to the top of Bowden, back down Straught as a footpath, not as a shed road. And in the actual draft plan, it talks about that the roads into Birregurra are highways. They're not.
1 minute, thanks.
Thank you. And they're also under the Department of Transport, and even on Saturday, the drainage was deplorable. And we have the same issues in Road Knight Street with the amount of water that's coming, the stormwater that comes off the train line and floods Road Knight Street regularly. And we also, the floods are measured at Ricketts Marsh, which again, another place that's not signed, and the Bowen River is measured at Ricketts Marsh, and when it's above 3 metres, rather than Birregurra Township. So if we get an easterly on my side of where I live, and people who work in Colac are unaware, and the CMA actually did works on the Bowen River Bridge years ago on a Monday, and we had a massive easterly, and people in Birri couldn't get home because all the debris had flown down the river and had never flooded before in the Cons Lane. So at that point, so that's alarming that we have this history that we know we're going to burn our safe place. We need options. Thank you. And yep, thank you. You're giving me the heads up. I think I've covered everything. Oh, sorry. Colac Otway Shire access to the library truck. I'd like that to see that in front of the hall rather than and using a big truck like they have in the Surf Coast Shire, rather than the park. And yep, thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks, everyone. That concludes all the submitters for the draft Birregurra structure plan. As officer recommendation in the report, councillors, does anyone wish to move that as the motion? Councillor Howard, is it to be seconded? Councillor Hudgell, thank you. Councillor Howard is the mover.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, we thank the submitters. I get excited about structure plans, so I'm glad there was a lot of submitters for this one, and I think it's a great exercise that council does the structure plans for these small communities. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Hudgell.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo Councillor Howard and say thank you to, especially to Tim and Elizabeth for being here today too. And Birregurra is full of rich history and character, and it's a plan that is really important and one that we need to make sure we get right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Buchanan.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Two particularly good submissions there from the Birri people, and thank you for your time. Tim, it's good to hear, refreshing to hear someone come in and put a plug in for some extra land, hopefully get into the system in the future. I think Birri's got a great future. It's a beautiful location, and well done. Thanks, Elizabeth, also.
Thanks, councillor. Any other councillor wish to speak? No? Right a reply? Right a reply. Thanks. Thanks, councillors. We have a motion before us now put to a vote. All those in favour? Councillor Potter, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Dew, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Howard, Councillor Schramm. Motion is carried 6-0. Thank you. All right. Thanks, council. We'll now move on to 5.4 submissions to Meredith Park. We have one person that wishes to speak. So I invite David McKenzie to address the committee. Thank you.
Councillors, staff, thanks for the opportunity to speak about Meredith Park. I'm a long-term Colac resident and lake user and have a keen interest in the park. I'm a frequent visitor. There are lots of economic advantages of having a camping reserve out there for the Shire. I talk to a lot of people, weekenders from Melbourne, and a lot of grey nomads are attracted to the area. And a lot of people, the other one that come are a lot of people waiting to get on the ferry to go to Tasmania. So they're there with a bit of buffer time. They spend money in Colac, they buy grog, supplies, maybe get a new set of tyres, whatever. So there is economic benefits to the park in a big way. But the popularity of the park, especially since COVID, we've had water levels come back, so boating's been viable again. And of course the popularity of social media, word of mouth over the internet means we've now got big numbers out there. So it does need discussion, it does need some tweaking, and it's good that the council is looking at this. And as a consequence of these big numbers around Christmas, Easter and Australia Day, for example, standards have declined. And it's very noticeable. The biggest one for me is the loss of native vegetation. As a junior and a scout, lots of trees were planted out there, which was a great initiative by the Shire in the 90s. But that's the thirst for fuel, for fires, and for campers and fishermen is pretty much out of control. You go out there and it's very demoralising. The once fenced areas, the fencing just disappeared overnight thanks to pressure from local persons and the weakness of the Shire not to stand up to them. A lot of that protective fencing around established trees was removed, and surprise, surprise, you go out there today, everything at the height of a chainsaw has been removed. Absolutely everything. So the prevalence of battery-powered saws means that not only native vegetation is targeted, but every skerrick of vegetation is targeted, whether it's green, whether it's dry, for fuel. And on that, if you don't believe me, go to the local police, The number of call-outs, every weekend there would be a call-out, and on your plot at the park and on the private land surrounding it. It's an ongoing issue and it's very poor form. So they're desperately needing new plantings for shade, for protection. They need to be fenced, seriously fenced, and planted at the appropriate time, not plantings in the middle of summer. They're not going to survive. So it's probably looking like next year. Fires are an issue which relate to the loss of vegetation, and they need to be in designated pits. There are designated pits. The Shire's done a great job with that. Enforcement of existing rules is probably the key. You don't need more rules. You need to enforce existing rules. There are long-term campers out there, and there are viable options for these people. They can come into the showgrounds where most of them came from, and when they got moved on during the show period, they stayed out there and they never went back. They need to be, that 28-day again needs to be enforced. Planting in spring, I think, is the big one. The decision on campers is up to you guys, but the amenity, a bit of work, a bit of love, the disrespect for nature out there has got slightly out of control. Please plant a heap of trees. There are a lot of people that come to the park that are birders, that are there for nature, and nature is being destroyed. We are losing the park, and it really is a blight at the moment on the Shire. So please do something good with it. Thanks for hearing me out.
Excellent. Thanks, David. Thanks, councillors. That's all the submitters to the Meredith Park future options. There's a recommendation in the report. Does anyone wish to move that as the motion? Councillor Potter, is it to be seconded? Councillor Hudgell. Thanks, Councillor Potter.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for coming in and making your submission, David. I think you reflected a number of other submissions we had along similar lines. We had a lot of submissions to this. Some vexing questions for council and staff to address, but there does seem to be a common theme around support for the campground there, so we'll see how that plays out. But we can't make decisions unless we hear from the community, and we certainly have in this regard. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Hudgell as the seconder.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, just acknowledging the written submissions as well. There were some really great written submissions in there as well, and thanks to David for being here again today. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other councillor wish to speak? No? I'll just save it to the end. Thank everyone's submission across all the items on the agenda for today. It was great feedback, a lot of feedback, which is really good that the community are engaging with council in a mostly respectful manner, putting their ideas across, and especially thank those that took the time to come in today to support, or tuned in online to support their submission. So thank you, Councillor Potter. Mover. Right reply. No. We have a motion before us, councillors. We'll now put it to a vote. All those in favour, Councillor Potter, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Dew, Councillor Hudgell, Councillor Howard, Councillor Schramm. Motion is carried 6-0. That concludes the Submissions Committee meeting of the Colac Otway Shire. I declare this meeting closed.